I'll be able to see that Zuckerberg actually stopped doing his job. It's told me that we've been live before, Bill, and then we haven't been. So I check
Oh,
every
okay.
time. It's live. Facebook, have we got a treat for you at 9 o'clock tonight here? Yes, sirree, Bub. We do. We have somebody here from Florida. Don't be a hater. Just because Florida is where all the action is, that's where they send spaceships off to the moon or wherever they're going. You know, just don't hate him because they have sunshine more than you do. That's not fair to this man. This man has dedicated his life to teaching children, and thank you for that service. And he makes people laugh in Florida. So I'm going to read you a little bit of what I found. He sent me this bio, intro, and he said I can pick and choose. So I'm going to pick and choose what I find interesting. So
Okay.
he says that he's originally from Tucson, Arizona. I still haven't figured out how to spell Tucson. It's not phonetic. I have to take another class to learn that one. He's the son of a car thief and a bartender. My dad was very much like the car thief. We'll get into
Yeah,
that. And my mother was a bartender, bar owner. So we have that in common. He
that's
has
cool.
a long string of history centering around being a Mormon, his involvement, many. He played the violin in school. I did too.
Oh,
This taught school for 5 years. Fortunately, I never did that. Your children are safe. Your grandchildren and great children. In his, he did 400 comedy sets in his first 2 years of comedy. Yeah, yeah. I didn't do that. He almost got divorced the third year. I'm
yeah.
slow. It took me till the seventh year, and I wasn't even doing comedy. You know what they say about bad luck, right, Bill? He has a channel on YouTube working on a Roku channel called Bars of Polk County. And he's been influenced by George Carlin. He just did the George Carlin thing, didn't you? Wasn't that
I
so?
guess so.
He was influenced by Woody Allen. Oh my gosh. I think he means the comedy influence.
Yeah, yeah, the comedy. The
Yeah,
personal life we can do without.
yeah, not the young baby nanny.
Uh,
He was influenced by Bill Burr, Jerry Seinfeld, Arjun Barker, and Doug Stanhope. Oh my gosh, let's get to know this guy. He sounds kind of interesting. In fact, I think it's a good thing we have him on Comic Spot. See?
uh, Thank you
This.
so much.
Hi, Bill Kirkpatrick. How are you
Well, hey,
doing?
Linda, how are you? It's good.
Wonderful.
This is such a neat technology, huh?
I know we look like we're on like late night. They're not doing any better than I am right now. This
That's
is
right.
all,
Yeah, we're right on par with those guys.
I can get
This
a
is
laugh track going.
great. You're
There,
more
I'll
on.
use you. I'm going to
That's right.
use you for my laugh track. You're a good laugher.
Well,
So,
keep them coming.
where are you at in Florida? Tell everybody. You told me earlier, but I'm going to have you tell everybody.
I'm in Lakeland, a city that nobody in Lakeland pronounces. It's not Lakeland. That's how it, reads out, but everybody calls it Lakeland, like it's I don't know, Lakeland. But yeah, I'm halfway between Tampa and Orlando. So this is
Wow.
the rednecky part right in between Tampa and Orlando, the big cities of Florida. So
Nice.
it is kind
What do people do when they're not being a comedian on their time off in Lakeland?
of, people go golfing, people go hunting. There's a raceway in Auburndale. Florida's got all these little tiny little towns and cities that are connected. I'm used to Arizona where it's like big metropolis, then nothing, and then you know, giant elephant feet. But Florida just all mingles, so it's kind of fun. But yeah, people like to get out, they get out and have fun. I used to go to the movies when they made them, so that was nice. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a dead duck right there. We have ducks, so that's nice too.
What
Ducks
kind of
and
ducks do you
swans.
have? Any special kind
White
that they
ones
don't?
with webbed feet. I love ducks because they don't care about gluten. It's all just bread. So I like that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a good point.
they call Lakeland Swan City,
No
I guess,
way.
because of the swans. You know what also has swans? Every place in Florida. So I don't know.
What about flamingos? Everybody used to have one of them pink ones in their yard when I was growing up.
Right, right. I
How,
remember those. I had neighbors with pink flamingos. We do have flamingos. It's weird because this is just wildlife. It'll land in your backyard. It'll walk through your front yard. It's weird. We take the land away from the critters, and then they take the land away from us.
That's cool. So I
Yeah.
want to know where you were born and raised.
Tucson, Arizona, out in the desert. Um, I think it's about 45 miles from the Mexican border. So it was kind of fun.
You said that
Statewide.
already. I
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
paying. I was too
That's
busy
okay.
thinking what I was going to say next.
That's okay. That's okay. You do you. My parents split up when I was 5, so I ended up in the desert of Ajo, which is on the way to Gila Bend. Aren't these wonderful places? So
Isn't this
mountain country.
funny?
It's weird because in Arizona they got mountains. You don't need GPS. You just need to look up. All right, there are the Santa Catalinas. I'm going north. You get to Florida and there are no mountains. It's like 6 feet above sea level, and so you don't know where you're going. And the night my dad picked us up from the airport, he drove back to Lakeland. It's like 40 miles, and he kept getting lost and going to St. Pete, then going to Clearwater, then going back to St. Pete. Somebody said you can't get there from here, and we got home 6 o'clock in the morning. So it was, yeah, the old man had the navigational skills of Christopher Columbus. So
Oh my gosh. So you grew up in Tucson and your parents got divorced and you went to Florida. And did their divorce make you start coping with comedy?
um,
When did your comedy rear its beautiful head?
my sister lived with my mom, and my brother and I lived with our dad. My dad was an alcoholic, and so we didn't
We
get to
have
hang out
all
with
this
him
in
very much.
common. This is exactly like my life. Go
Oh,
ahead.
is that right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Twins from different moms. Yeah. So you kind of like you're on your own. You got to figure stuff out. I used to watch a lot of black and white TV, Gilligan's Island, and the Honeymooners and the Brady Bunch, and so you kind of develop that. You just all the sitcoms. You hear all that stuff, and I think for my brother and sister, we kind of one of the things we bonded together is we'd watch the 80s. That's when I came of age. It's kind of like the golden age of the comedy club, and we used to
Yes.
watch this stuff as it Showtime and HBO had stuff. So we would watch this stuff, and we started when they came out with VCRs. We would record all this stuff, and we'd get together and watch this stuff. That was kind of our fun thing to do, and it's really funny. Little Steven Spielberg had that was that Super 8 camera, right? My parents didn't have that kind of cash, but reel to reel had gone to cassette, and like in the mid to late 70s, cassette players they were just spitting them out like coming out of vending machines. Everybody had a cassette player, and so I would get that. My brother and I would go see movies, and then we'd come home and we would do skits, and we'd put that. And so it's kind of like we were thinking like the DJs on the radio, and we were thinking about there's Cheech and Chong. There are all these various sort of radio kinds of dramas and little comedies, and that's what we were trying to do. And so it kind of put a seed in my head.
So in your life, who were people that told you you had comedy chops?
It's really funny because I would meet a lot of people, and they would all go, "Oh, you got to become a stand-up comedian." But I didn't have the grit to do that. I was scared to death. I couldn't tell my old man, that I was going to be a comic. So I just actually went the conventional route, and I ended up becoming a lawyer.
No way.
Yeah. It's okay. My practice was comedic, so uh, very laughable. But yeah, everybody I knew would tell me I had to become a comic. But
Yeah.
today you have a path. You can go on YouTube and learn about anything, master's classes. The amount of information that's out there is just phenomenal. But when I was a kid, I remember the adults in my life were like, I'd say, I want to go into entertainment. And they're like, I don't think so. Like, why not? Well, you live in Tucson for one thing. They're not making movies in Tucson. Well, there's old Tucson, there's a little cowboy studio, but it's like, you're not, you got to have connections. And so I grew up thinking, well, okay, thing I want to do isn't going to happen. So I guess I better go find some like a day job. So I became a lawyer. And I did
What
that for
kind of lawyer?
a really bad one. I practiced law for 5 years, so my clients figured out I was just practicing. You know, for $300 an hour, nobody wants to be the pop quiz. But no, I did a lot. They call it door law. I did everything and went through the door, but mostly criminal defense. I really enjoyed criminal defense, and I think it's just because uh, the cases are usually pretty cut and dried as far as this person's going to go to jail. They're going to prison. Their life's going to get messed up. And so if there's anything you can do to make that better, you start to feel sorry for people that are in trouble. A lot of people, you watch Nancy Grace, not a lot of sympathy there, right? Just rah, rah, rah. But for me, I felt like a
She's
social
doing us
worker.
women a disservice. We got away from being called the B word, and she's
I
not
think
helping.
she's doing bipeds a disservice. Oh my gosh. Oh,
He needs to give
but
her some marijuana.
that's true. It's like that Bill Hicks bit, right? It's mandatory. Smoke this. I like that.
Can you see her doing a show and she's high, maybe doing with Snoop
I'm telling you,
Dogg?
I'll bet you she'd be so much nicer of a person if she could just find something and just cut back a little bit on that shrieking. I don't know.
Back to you.
Yeah, right.
You're talking about attorney and Nancy Grace, and then I sidelined you. Sorry.
Oh, not a problem. I practiced law for 5 years. My mom got cancer, and it was just, oh, thanks. It was very devastating. Uh, I loved her to death. It's hard to see it happen, and that's when you start to reevaluate your life choices. You start thinking, "Am I really doing with my life what I want to do?" And I always wanted to do certain things, and I hadn't. It's weird when because you go to law school, you're doing 7 years of the 4 years for the undergrad and the 3 years for law school, and you kind of, this is what I'm going to do, and then something like that comes along, and you go, is this really how I want to spend my life? And I kind of shifted out of that, became a teacher, which I ended up doing for 20 years, and then while I was teaching, I was having so much fun in class, and we were cracking jokes all the time. And there was another teacher, Devin Siebold. He's a headliner who moves around the country, and he went from being a teacher to being a comic. And it was just like, I guess I could do that. So I went out to an open mic, and usually that's all it takes. You get out in front of even if you bomb, just the fact that you got up in front of a group of people and you told your story, it made all the difference in the world. I never thought of going backwards after that. I was just like, this is it. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
That's amazing, because a lot of people get in there, and then when the going gets rough, they step away for a while, or a few times, or for a few years, or for
Oh
20
yeah.
years when it's rough. And you never did.
Well, you think about those, particularly those first few years in, and how much rejection you have, how many times you bomb, you don't have any good material, you're kind of trying to do anything you can to put something together. And then the local scene. I think every local scene has these people that just bash all the other comics and just make fun of them. And I guess that makes them feel better about themselves, but
Yes.
it's tough. I'm surprised people stay with it as long as they do, because there's so many things at the beginning, and you just got to get through that. You got to just get past it and get on with your life. You just take it one step at a time. You know, you're working on 5 minutes, then you're working on 10, then you're working on 15 and 25 and on and on. You just do the best you can, you know. You can't get you can't read too much into it. You just got to go. Don't look down, don't look up, you know, just take that, just keep going one step after another. That's how I think about it. And it makes it doable for me.
Yes. So the very first time that you went up on stage, how nervous were you before? Real bad?
Yeah, you know when Donald Trump does that thing about the journalists and he, you know, that thing. That's me. That's me. He was probably just making fun of me. I I went out there in a button-down white shirt, and I had no idea. It really, you don't really need that many jokes to do 5 minutes,
Not really.
but you know, it feels like it's going to be like you're crossing the Atlantic that first, you know, the first few times, and then you get to a point where it's like then you got to learn not to keep talking when the light comes on and stuff like that. But when I first did it, I was shaking like a leaf. I had my notes on a piece of paper. There were all the jokes I was going to do. It looked like the Declaration of Independence. I had all of this just long thing, you know, and but I made it through the first one. This and it was at this little bar. I had to drive 25 miles to get to. Did one night a week, and then they put me up first on my second set, and I thought the guy was being mean to me. And actually, what he was doing, he was grooming me. He was saying, "Look, you got to learn to get up there." And so, you know, that guy ended up being one of the first guys to hire me as a host to do a comedy show. And you know, those little things. You never know. There are all these times when you go, I'm not going to go out tonight. I don't feel like it. I don't feel funny. I'm tired, you know. And then you go out anyway, and then you realize, wow, this thing happened to me. I had no idea it was going to happen, and it happened tonight. And if I hadn't gone out, you know, it makes a difference.
In the time that you've done comedy, what's something that someone has said to you, like afterward, in the audience, or another comic, or a club owner, that made you go, "Wow, it is all worth it"? Have you had
Well,
one
I
of those?
I thought you were going to say negative. Some lady called me old and weird, and I'm like,
Uh,
I'm not weird.
just a second, I have to plug my computer in.
It's okay.
There.
Uh, as long as we're still hot, that's cool. Um, I've worked with a number of headliners when I was hosting, and the ones that I really liked were the cool ones. It seemed like there was a reciprocal, not reciprocal, I don't know, forget the fancy word. The more talented they were, the less ego they had. And the more iffy they were, the more uptight they were, you know, and quick to like burn anybody below them so that they weren't blamed for a bad night. And I remember a headliner, I was up there, I did some stuff, you know, bonkers, right? I was up
Yes.
there doing a bonkers room and I had to host that night. And I had these comic cards I was supposed to do a little raffle for. And I got up there and I forgot my bucket. And this headliner walked up. He went around and he got the comic cards. Well, I kind of like made jokes and kept them going, and he got it, and it was so smooth. Guy didn't need to do that for me. He could have just made a phone call. Yeah, this guy sucks. This guy's terrible. Get rid of this guy. Instead, he was like, yeah, here you go. I think it's really cool when people that are headlining take a moment and say, listen, you're good. You got talent. Keep going. Keep at it. You know, that little bit of, um, you know, encouragement makes a huge difference.
That's a beautiful story.
Thanks.
Are you at liberty to say who that headliner was that was so nice?
Um, the guy who told me to keep going was Charlie Bowie, very funny guy. The guy that collected the cards was Chris Gorges. Another guy who helped me is he goes by the name of Genesis, comedian Genesis. Funny guy, crushes everywhere he goes. And he took me aside and said, "Bill, I've seen you make a lot of changes, like a lot of improvement. You know, I another guy that I owe a lot to is Kevin White. He's fantastic. Um, he like I said, he's the first guy who gave me my opportunity to host. Um, I worked, let's see, I worked with Susan. Trying to remember her last name. She was in Eating Raoul, that movie from the '70s. Susan, I'm trying to remember the last. I'm sorry, I'm bad with names, but she was just, she
You want
was
me to
just
look it
much.
up?
Yeah, yeah,
Raoul?
yeah. She flew out, did a show in Orlando, and she was so nice to me. I could not believe how cool she was. She played the nurse in that movie.
It's a Susan, huh? Susan Sager.
That's it.
She's
She
gonna
is the
let
coolest.
she's gonna let me interview her.
Is she really?
Yeah.
Well, you're gonna love that interview. She is very soulful. She's a
Good.
real person. Some people are so filled with demons. They're so competitive, and she is just the opposite. She's like Yoda. She's
Love those
fantastic.
kind of people.
Yeah, yeah, you're gonna love it. That's gonna be a good interview.
When you said Susan, I was gonna say Sager, and I thought, no, it's probably not Sager. Why would it be Sager? I
I
don't
thought
know.
about that. I thought about Bob Seger, and I'm like, no, that's the guy with Against the Wind. So I'm really terrible with names. I've taught fourth was it 4,000 kids, 20
Wow.
years, yeah, and
You're
I can
bad at
barely
math
name.
too.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. But I'm just really not. I'm not good with names. I don't know why. I can remember stuff out of books. I just can't remember like experience. It's all a blur. But yeah, yeah, names are tough.
Names are
Unless the
tough.
kid is weird. Unless they're unusual.
Or if the name's really weird.
Well, that's funny because that was one of the oddities that I discovered when I was teaching. Is that, like, for example, everybody names their kid the same thing, and they think that they're, oh man, watch this. So you get like 50 Jasmines and Aaliyahs galore, and they're like 37 different ways to spell it. And it's like, and in the South, they're all Cody's and, Cooters and whatever. So it's weird. It's hard. I had a class that had 3 Stevens and 2 Daniels and, 4 Jasmines. And it's like, I don't know how am I supposed to keep all this going. I need to get like a blue, like that little barcode, put a barcode on them or something. I don't know. On me. But it's fun. You do what you do, you have a good time with it.
So do you do a podcast? You have a good voice.
Oh, thanks. I have a podcast called Carpooling with Myself.
Oh, yes,
And
right. I saw that.
I went out and bought, I got this, if you're a gearhead, I got 2 mics that I like. I have the ER20, right? And the radio mic. And then I've got the Shure SM7B, and I swap them off because I'm such a nerd. And I get in the car, and I have this little Bluebird, I think it's called. You pump that in there, and you put it into Zoom. It looks like a tricorder out of Star Trek, and you get going with that thing. I'll drive down the road and kill tons of people just trying to get back and forth from to and from school. But I'll just go in. I'll just do a podcast and talk about what's going on. It's actually fun. I'm really just talking to myself, it's like an elaborate way of trying to make that socially acceptable.
So you call it carpooling, but you're not really technically allowed to carpool by yourself, but that's okay. I know.
You can't Polk
I have
County
a question. What?
Okay.
I have so many questions I want to ask, but they involve the law.
All right.
And you're an attorney, so I don't think I want to do this.
You can ask. You can ask. I would feel honored if you asked.
Once you become an attorney, are you considered an attorney for life unless you get disbarred?
You're always a lawyer. You're always an attorney. What matters is whether you're licensed in the state where you're practicing. Okay. So, for example, are you in California?
Nevada.
Nevada, right. Sorry. So like if you ask me a question, I'm not licensed in Nevada, so you wouldn't be listening from an attorney that has, you know,
Yeah.
you take it with a grain of salt. You
Yes.
always want to consult the local attorney that's licensed. But there's a lot of stuff that's, there's a lot of stuff that's similar. In the bar exam, you take 2 days. There's a multi-state, which is basically stuff that applies pretty much everywhere, and then there's a state test the next day. So
I am a huge fan of attorneys if they are huge fans of Sonny and Cher.
well, that's good because I am a fan of Sonny and Cher.
Do you know
I
why?
watch them. Why is that?
Because they're pro bono.
That's beautiful. I love it.
Thank you. It
Yeah.
gets one laugh. I haven't been able to work it into a bit yet. It's very frustrating.
Oh, that's okay. The day will come. You'll find it.
I could do, Bono and Bonobo, but that's monkey sex, and like it's just not worth the push.
Yeah, right.
It's gonna leave
Right.
it with pro
Talk
bono.
about legal issues. I think what you just said there was good.
Thank you.
You're looking for the right attorney. Excuse me. Looking for pro bono. Yeah. I think you'll find it. You'll find it. Maybe what you should do is maybe you're going to change your name to Bono. So there'll be pro bono. I don't know.
I like that. There's an idea.
Lame
Yeah.
joke of the night. So there we go.
I'm going to an attorney to change my name to be.
I think Linda is a very good name. Linda. Speak any Spanish?
I speak enough to be able to go down to across the border and get coffee.
Well, that's all you need right there. That's all you get after a year of Spanish in school is, Starbucks in Tijuana. But
I'm telling you, I'd rather speak Spanish Starbucks than Italian.
Oh, yeah, right.
Do you know what it's like when they call security and you've asked them for a $25 Venmo? They're like, no, that's not how it works. So, okay, fine. I tried.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, Linda is Spanish for cute, lovely, adorable. You see a little girl, chica, que linda, something like that. So that's a good name.
I said that to my mother when I found that out as a little girl. I came back and I go, hey, guess what? I found out Linda means beautiful in Spanish. And she said, well, you were born at
night. Well, Bill in English is something you pay somewhere between the 1st and the 15th of the month.
Yes, that's true. How's that feel?
I got records. I mean, I don't know.
I'm a bill collector.
That's it.
I've been collecting them. I just haven't gotten a letter opener yet.
It's funny because you kind of wonder, because people change their names for comedy, and you're like, if I were Billy, I'd seem more, exciting, and William is more dignified. But all my heroes, a lot of my heroes were named Bill. There's a Bill Burr. I like Bill Maher. I think he's very funny.
Me too.
Bill Cosby, before we found out all the bad stuff, was a legend. He was a great, great man. Kind of screwed that up. But, and then who else? There's another Bill in there. Well, there's Billy Crystal. So that's the counter.
Oh, man. You said the magic word, Billy Crystal.
Wasn't he great?
Oh, my gosh. The best.
Yeah. Oh, he did all this. He could do like stories and voices and one-liners. And he's like the perfect host. I don't know why they don't have him host all the time.
His comedy is so smart. His acting is so deep. It doesn't get better than Billy Crystal.
Oh man. Yeah. When Harry Met Sally, City Slickers, guys and it was really cool because you take you both sides, right? You could be very funny and happy, and then they could be there's some poignancy where you feel, some sadness.
Billy Crystal could do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you ever see the movie Mr. Saturday Night?
Oh my gosh. People talk about King of Comedy, and they make that movie right there, Mr. Saturday Night. is the movie, I think.
Oh my gosh.
Comics movie. Because he nailed it. The narcissism, the anxiety, the insecurities, the people in your life that are sort of end up getting sucked in, his relationship with his brother. That was a good movie. I really enjoyed that.
What's your favorite thing that any comedian has ever said?
Oh, that's hard. There's
It is.
so many great ones that
I'll
like
give
a
you a
joke.
I'll give you a minute and I'll tell you mine.
Okay,
Billy
well, you tell
Crystal.
me yours first, and I could
Then
get
it give
inspiration off yours.
Yeah, it
What's
gives you a
yours?
minute to think of yours. When Billy Crystal said that he's going to do an impression of he's going to do an impression. You guys like impressions? Everybody clapped. He goes, "I'm going to do one of my Aunt Clara," and then they laughed on the phone. Uh, no, with his Aunt Clara doing Aunt Clara in Boca Raton. His Aunt Clara from Boca Raton. Nobody knew what the impression was that he was doing. It was a spoof on impression. And then he goes in this whole thing about how she wore one of those moles, she had a mole on her face, but
Yeah.
if she was going to church, the mole would be over here, and then she'd forget, and the mole would be over. He knew where she was going based on where the mole was, and she looked very kabuki theater. The
Oh, that's great.
eyebrows and the moles.
There's a comedian named Arj Barker,
Arch
and
who?
Arj, it's really short for Arjun. His family's Indian. He grew up in America, and I think he kind of like anglicized it a little bit, Arj Barker, and yeah, because I think his actual name is Arjun Singh, and he just trying to fit in, I guess, but he's not even in America now. He's over in Australia, but I was amazed at the quality of his work, and he used to do this thing, talk about global warming, and he would. It's really funny because he had like these puppy dog eyes, and he'd talk like global warming, and he'd go off and say, you know, I think it's the sun. That's where the heat's coming from, And he'd go through his little. It's very silly, absurdist stuff, and I kind of wish to see him more successful. I never real. It's like you ever watch a comic and you go, why isn't this person bigger? Why
Yes,
isn't this? There's a guy right now who is finally getting his moment in the sun, and his name is Preacher Lawson.
I love him.
Oh, good. I
Love him.
I worked with him on stage. Now, that doesn't mean I'm tight with him or something, but like I was coming up. He was the big guy, and he would crush in every room that he went into. He looks like young Eddie Murphy, but he's got kind of a quality, like a Robin Williams quality, where he just goes right into act out and makes scenes, and he's just amazing and just a really nice guy. The guy doesn't swear at all that I'm aware of. I think his mom, wanted make her proud, and so the guy goes in there completely swear free and just thunderously blows the whole room down. And I just wow. And he got on America's Got Talent, and comics don't usually win that stuff because it's TV and they got a little. I think it's a scripted thing, but it's like, it's always a cuter. There's always a cuter person than a comedian. But the guy is just utterly amazing. And now he's like circling all over the place. He bought his mom a house,
Yay.
which is awesome. Yeah. So that's cool.
That's very
I
cool.
love to see, but I would watch him. I worked sort of in the same circle of people for like 5 or 6 years. And I kept wondering, is there a God? How could this guy be so talented and go completely unnoticed? And then it's that overnight success, right? Which is not really overnight. It's the moment comes, and one day nobody knew who you were, and the next day everybody knows who you are, and that happened to him with AGT. And now like he goes all over to all the improvs, and he went overseas and did some stuff in London, and he's on HBO, and this guy's blowing up. But it's
That's
like
great.
but it's the cool part now, but it's interesting the character building part before any of that other stuff happens when you realize, This guy had no idea that he was
That's
going to be.
exactly what it is too. I mean, like it took me 5.5 years to get laughs out of people throughout my set. You know, I'd get a laugh and a laugh and a lot of silence, and it isn't until the last 6 months here that people laugh through my whole set.
That's
And
cool.
all that time, you know, while you're going through it, it's painful, but when you come out of it, you have some substance.
Right. Well, it's something because open mics are laboratories. You're not getting paid anything. You're going in there to have a jury, to have people give you feedback. And so you could take anything, you can try. And the worst thing is that once you start getting jokes that pop, then those are the only jokes you want to tell because you don't want to bomb, right? So you kind of, and then your progress is slow. I wrote more stuff in my first 2 years as a comic than probably all the other years combined because I was so intensely trying to get out of this hole I was in, right? And then, but it is interesting if you take the open mic as this is a laboratory. I'm going to try these experiments. Doesn't work. I'll come back with more stuff tomorrow. That's fine. You only need one joke to work. You know, you're not getting paid for it anyway. So if you got something, then you go, okay, this is going to work. So that's cool because a lot of people go through that experience and then they feel bad about themselves. They don't need to, but we all want to be stars, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And our
So
ego.
what do you want out of comedy before you leave the earth?
Um, I I would like to have a body of work, and I would like to be. You ever tell a joke and you're not proud of the joke because it doesn't meet your standards, but it's like you got to laugh, and then you feel like you got to keep it because it's getting laughs, but it's not really what you want to do. I would like, strangely enough, I'd like to have my Netflix specials or my HBO specials, and if it's not Netflix, it could be my Circle K, my 7-Eleven specials, whatever, Amazon Prime, whatever it is. I would like to have a body of work that I can feel proud of, and I I honestly, and I know this is kind of philosophical and religious, but I don't think we build anything. I think if we build, it's like sandcastles on the beach, and then whoosh, it just gets wiped down anyway. For me, this is the fairy tale I tell myself that this is my experience to learn something, and so I'm doing stuff. Failure's not even an issue. I don't care about it. I just want to do stuff and have the experience. So I'm trying to build uh, a body of work and have stuff that I can feel proud of and be able to say, this is what I did, you know. But I don't really care if I ever make a movie or if I ever. Um, there goes my wife.
Is that your wife?
Yeah.
Hi, wife. What's her first name?
Sherry.
Hi, Sherry.
She keeps me well grounded.
She's
I met
tall. She's really tall for keeping you well grounded.
Touche. I met her at BYU, and I sat down with her. There's like all these beautiful people to date and no connection. Then I sit down with her. I'm feeling something. She goes, "How many credits are you taking?" I said, 18. She goes, "That's stupid." I'm like, "Oh." I was hooked.
Wow.
She keeps me out of trouble.
She keeps you humble.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does.
Well,
It's
you've
funny.
been you go ahead and finish your thought.
Oh, I was
Sorry.
just saying, it's funny. We have the people in our lives. Some people feel like those people are holding them back, because they want to go out and they want to take over the world. But those are the people you come back to when you're bruised and battered and you had a bad set or some comics talking trash about you or you had a booking and it fell through. It's those people that knew you when you weren't doing comedy that actually are there for you. And so you should be for them because they're for you. And, it is what it is.
There you go. Wow, taught me something.
Woo!
Well, the interviews have to stay kind of short because I pay a T-Mobile hotspot. It's pretty
Oh,
expensive.
goodness.
I can't have
Wow.
Wi-Fi where I'm at. Don't even ask. It's a whole
Oh,
thing.
my gosh.
So this has been wonderful, but I have to keep it short. And
I understand.
have we gone almost an hour? No.
Knowing
My
me.
my how time flies when we're having fun. It says 53 minutes since I've been on.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that we talked probably 10 or 12 minutes before we went live.
Oh, that's probably what it is.
And then
Yeah.
I signed on for 5, but still we went clear over 30, and
Oh
I'm
my
trying to
gosh.
keep them to 15, but
Oh
I
yeah. You
never
got
do.
about half of what I said.
No, this is great. You've been a doll. If there's any, now that you're, this is Comic Spot, and
Uh-huh.
now that you are a graduate, Bill Kirkpatrick, you're a graduate of Comic Spot. So anytime you want to come on and plug something, your podcast or
Oh
a
wow.
show you're going to do, tell me you
Yeah.
want 5 minutes to come on and tell people about something going on.
Oh, that's fantastic. I really
Yeah,
appreciate that. It's really nice of you.
cool. I've had fun with you. You're a great guy.
Well, thanks, Linda. You are a wonderful person. I really
Thank you.
appreciate all that you've done. It's
Thank
been a
you.
joy.
It's been fun doing this. I'm having a blast. This is the time of my life. This and getting on stage. If I couldn't do this and I couldn't get on stage, I'd be in a world of hurt.
Yeah, isn't that something? It really does give a lot back. And that's the right attitude. That's the attitude that takes you to the next step, is
Thank
that
you.
you do it because it's authentic and holistically good for you.
Oh
And
man,
what
this
comes
is
out of
so
it
great.
comes out of it. You never know.
Exactly. I see some people trying to do this, and they're like trying to get money more than they're trying to connect with people and touch lives, and it's
Yeah.
like,
There are a lot of people trying to climb up very, very quickly. And it's like, nah, you should try to be funny first
yeah.
and just take it one step at a time.
The
I've got to,
I started making these Zoom calls when the pandemic. Well, I interviewed in Portland before I got to Vegas, but the first few Zoom calls I made is because I wanted to see how people were doing. I wanted to see their face and know that they're okay. Because you know how we've been around people who have offed themselves,
yeah,
and this was a very depressing time. And I'm very pro not taking your life. Like I'm always concerned that I've had a couple of very close comedy friends that have taken their life.
wow.
And
Sorry.
so I was checking in on them with Zoom and found that people went from just so hopeless to feeling so reconnected with the moment they started doing comedy, how they felt, I don't know, reconnected with their passion. It was like a blessing to me to check in and ask questions and try to, like just see how people were doing. What are they planning on doing after the pandemic? It's like you're stuck in this, the world is holding still and you don't know when it's going to end. And maybe by
Yeah,
me asking some questions, I can get them to get out of the muck and mire that they're in. I don't know. That was my hope by doing this.
that's good. That's right. We're medicine men and medicine women. That's what we do. People are going through tough times and we cheer them up, you know?
That's it.
I'm glad you do that. I think that's really important. And
I
I'm
always
glad you
wanted
do
to
that.
be around the most hurting people in the world, and I started comedy, and it was like the people that came to the clubs weren't hurting. I wanted to go to where they were really hurting, like battered women's shelters and homeless shelters and VA hospitals, and now people are hurting everywhere. I can do comedy on the Vegas Strip to anybody walking by. Everybody needs it's like everybody's hurting right now. Comedy should be taking off.
Yeah. I think you're right. And they don't always look at it as an essential thing. And I think that's unfortunate because, that's when things go bad, people feel bad. And you can't fix a lot of the things that go bad. And, people turn to drugs, they turn to alcohol. Uh, you know, they used to be able to go to the movies and do extreme sports and all that, and it's out of their lives. And comedy is one of the ways in which we cheer ourselves up. And it's very communal. When a show's going well, it's very loving. There's a warmth to the show. And people are missing that. And you can't get that watching cable, bam, you can get 300 specials on Netflix. I sound like a Netflix guy, but you get like 300 of them, but it's not the same as being in an actual comedy show, And so
We
I
all
think
feel
we
like
are,
birds right now that have had our wings clipped.
yeah, that's right. That's right. And I think what you're doing is a good idea. And I hope you continue to do with as many people as you can reach, because I think, I know I feel better. My spirit is higher since coming on here and having a conversation with you. I don't know. It's nice,
Thank you. I want to reach as many people as possible, and I want other people to do it with the same passion, to try to cheer people up and bring them out of the funk that's going on.
That's right. That's a very critical thing. Maybe the most in many ways.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Don't forget to hit me up when you want to plug something or promote something.
Absolutely. And by the way, I don't know if you ever come out to Florida, but if you do, I produce shows. I go out to all the places that are not as connected. Tampa and Orlando, they've got their little hierarchies. I go out to all the empty spots of Florida, but they're still paid shows, and people's sometimes are the best shows because people are hurting for entertainment, which is my opportunity.
There you
Look
go.
at the ones that are really hurting. So
Just get the hurting.
yeah. So if you ever come out to Florida, just let me know, and I could, it's one of those clustered things where you could get, I can get some money off this show, I can get some money off this show, and sometimes it helps pay part of the expenses of the trip.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I'm thinking about taking a year away from living in a city and going around the country, maybe finding a headliner that wants a host, or, a headliner and a feature that want to host, to go along with them. But I'm
Well,
ready to do the country.
Yeah, if you ever come out to Florida, I'll be happy to put you on as a host if you want to
Thank you
host.
so much. Yes, I
My
do.
pleasure. Yay!
Thank you so much. I did it at Harvey's Comedy Club, but I want to go out and do it again, as many
Yeah.
places as I can. Thank
Well,
you
that's
so
really cool.
much.
My pleasure. Thank you, Linda.
See you later.
It's been fun. See you later.
Is it Sherry, your wife?
Yeah.
Tell her goodbye. See you
Okay.
later.
See you later. Bye-bye.